I'm including her son. He's 18. My children are all adult children. The oldest is 42.
Right.
So that is a great span of age, you know.
Yep.
And but I'm still 24 years old, so I get I get along with all of them, and they all look up to me because I stand on the Word of God.
Right.
I've not always been like that, and they've seen my history,
Right.
but they've seen the gradual transition of who God has made me, not what I've done, anything about me. It's all what God has done and been allowed to do in my life.
Right. See, that's how God blesses, right? When we follow Him, He works all this other stuff out.
Sure.
And part of the problem in a blended family is, the couple comes together and they both got kids, so they want things to be normal, whatever that is. But when you try to force kids to blend, they'll fight you.
That's right.
So sort of by accident, when we got married, we did a few things right. We had no idea what we were doing, really. But I was loving her and letting her deal with the kids. But what I didn't know at the time was she was respecting me in front of the kids. I came, God really wasn't in the picture, but at least the marriage came before the kids. And so she respected me, I was loving her, and the kids saw that. Now, it wasn't perfect by any means, but, there were a few things we did right. But you look back on things, and you can see where God was kind of, pulling the strings, pushing the buttons,
Right.
even though you had no idea.
Right.
But when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and putting God first in these various relationships, like it says in Romans 8:28, all things work together for good for those who love God and are called. So, it's just being obedient, really. And then you have the right attitude about being obedient, and you're trying to do the best you can to follow the Word of God. Things usually work out. It's all in His timing. It's not in ours. So a lot of times it doesn't happen soon enough for us, but it gets there.
Let's see if there's a comment over here. Would you care to add anything to any of the teachings?
So, I was looking at when I read in the book, the types of blended families. But in addition to remarriage after divorce or remarriage after loss of spouse, I have 2 children out of wedlock. Jamila has a child. And so that's another
Right.
blended and even more common
Absolutely.
blended
Especially these days.
nowadays with single parents.
Right. That's right.
Lots of single parents. So and I just thought about that, and I made an additional comment in my notes about that.
Yeah,
And then
it's good.
for us, when you talk about remarriage after divorce, because what I'm doing is putting all the lessons in perspective of our relationship, and so how do I take, how do we take from here, talk about it, discuss it, and bring things out.
Sure.
So neither of us have been married, but we've got to deal with whatever is on the board through past relationships, through
Sure.
how we grew up.
Right.
Yeah. Even though you weren't actually married, it's still kind of like the divorce
Yeah.
side of things. I mean, there was a relationship that ended,
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
so it's
So
kind
it
of the
still
same.
applies. The same,
Right.
Yeah.
the same from a spiritual perspective.
Spiritually.
getting rid of things.
Yeah.
It's
The law is not, the
Yeah.
court system is not so much involved.
Right.
But spiritually speaking, yeah.
Yeah, so there's lots of stuff to go through. One of the things I also, you gave me the chance to speak in the beginning of the class last week, and one of the things that I forgot to say, I said that I really, when I found this class and I saw it and I wanted to take it, even though I was single at the time, because I knew I would eventually meet somebody that had blended family. I was like, blended family, this is great. Let me try to get ahead of the game.
Right.
But one of the things that I didn't say from a principal perspective is I didn't do the right things when I was younger, or did them the wrong way, or learned, as you just put it, learned things the wrong way, or just did it.
Just did it.
And so it's real important for me to establish that principle, get rid of it, ask for forgiveness, and come together in this type of environment to be the best that I can be and be a good father.
Yeah. Good point. I really like what you said about basically choosing to be a good father. That's huge. So much of the issues that we're dealing with today is because we haven't had decent fathers. Right? Satan takes the heads out. It's like or trying to kill a snake. Cut the head off. Right? Satan has been after the fathers for generations. If he can get rid of the father, you end up with single parents. And single parents are not as good as traditional mom and dad. Right? Fathers, one of those statistics, like 90% of the rest of the family become Christians if the father does. If it's just the mom, it's like maybe 30%. It's huge difference. The father makes a big difference in the family, But Satan wants him to be a nobody, Especially you see the movies, TV shows. Fathers are jokes, for the most part. I grew up with Leave It to Beaver, Father Knows Best. Back when it was still black and white, on TV. But those were like ideal families, Mom was taking care of the kids, making sure they did what they were supposed to do. Dad was the breadwinner for the most part. But, Satan has kind of twisted a lot of that to, everybody wants to be equal. But as we've said before, we're equal in value, but we were created for different purposes. So when we're in our purpose, God really uses that. So,
Well, I remember the classes that you were in, and we're trying to be respectful and not mention names, otherwise I would say names. But I was so impressed that you came forward and said, I didn't know that part, or I didn't know this part. And that's why we're here and we teach things about blended families, because there hasn't been much teaching out there. But when you realize the scenario of what Satan is trying to do in these relationships, whether you are married or if you're just dating and have a child out of wedlock, Satan is still messing with that relationship. And what we're trying to do is put God into the relationship, back into families, and take it from there. We had a girl come up to us this week from the Dream Center, and she had been married, I think, once before. And she is in the first phase of the program. There's different phases of the programs, as a lot of you might know. And she was in 2 of our classes that we were teaching the blended families down at the Dream Center. And she said, wow, I didn't know that. If I'd have known that, I probably wouldn't have got divorced. And in my new relationship, I probably wouldn't have ended that relationship if I'd have known what you just said a few minutes ago. And she came into the class this week at the Dream Center in tears that they won't let her take more than so many classes. And when you're in different phases, they have rules, and you have to stick to the rules. But she said, I learned more in those few classes that I've been in with you guys than in the mandatory classes that I'm supposed to take. How can you get the word out there to other people like me that need to know what really makes a good relationship, or what makes a marriage be able to be Christ-centered? She said, I didn't know some of those things until you told me. And that's what these classes are about. That's why we do what we do and try to get the word out there. But to admit those kind of things takes a lot for her to come forward, that was only the third class she'd been in, to even say that, or someone like this gentleman over here that's said, you know, I had children out of wedlock, and that's a different type of blending too. And that is a hard thing because it is a relationship that ended. And anyway, we just so thankful God has given us this platform of ministry to try to get the word out there. But I am very doubly impressed with you for coming forward again.
Thank you.
All right. Well, it's 10:15. Time to wrap things up. We're going to turn it back over to ChristianLivingRadio.com and sign us off.